Unreleased cards. The list keeps growing and shrinking? Yeah, I've done this video in the past, that's no surprise, but ever since, some cards on those videos got added after I uploaded, so I decided I wanted to update the list once again, removing those cards that are already in the game, and I also added 7 brand new unreleased cards that you've probably never heard of. Maybe. So, with that being said, let's get right into it.
Let's do this.
The last Lava Pup. This was supposed to be a very unique card because, get this, it was supposed to be 0 elixir. Yeah, 0. Not only was it confirmed by Supercell, which we'll get into in just a second, but a few years back, there were leaks of Lava Pups in the game files. Now, it's hard to tell if those leaks had anything to do with this 0 elixir card, but there's a chance they were. I mean, it would make perfect sense. As I mentioned a few seconds ago, the card was revealed to be a killed concept by 2 developers. The first one stated that the 0 elixir card was tested, but it felt too mandatory for cycle decks, meaning that in cycle decks, it would have almost always had to be included. It was just way too beneficial. The other developer stated that the 0 elixir card tested was called the last Lava Pup, or at least one of the concepts. It was inspired by the Clash of Clans story uploaded years back, so yeah, pretty cool. This 0 elixir card could have happened, but it didn't. The Gunner. By the looks of it, it was a prince, but instead of a pony and a lance, he walked on foot and actually shot his enemies with 2 pistols simultaneously. It reminds me of the Clash version of what Colt would be. Unfortunately though, this card never worked out, but it did end up inspiring another card, which we'll get into a little bit later. Elite Archers. This card was leaked at the same time as the Barbarian Barrel, Ghost, Rascals, and the Magic Archer. Of course, all of those cards got added, except for the Elite Archers. There's not much information about this card, but I think it's safe to say it was the Archers version of the Elite Barbarians, like just stronger archers. Also, it is basically the sneaky archer from Clash of Clans, but the Clash Royale version was always portrayed slightly differently, so you can tell that they aren't 100% similar. I mean, just put them side by side and you can tell they don't even have the same faces. I did a little bit more digging as well and found data mined images that showed the card from every angle, and this is pretty much solid proof that it was ready to be released. So yeah, there's a lot of speculation here, but to sum it up, the Elite Archers were supposed to be stronger archers, similar to the sneaky archers in Clash of Clans. The Ice Wizard Tower. If you didn't know, the Bomb Tower was supposed to be the Ice Wizard Tower. Supercell confirmed it was supposed to be the first legendary building. But that didn't happen because it slowed down the matches, and at the time they were trying to do the exact opposite. The game was too slow. They were trying to speed it up, and this Ice Wizard Tower was a no-no. So the Ice Wizard Tower was scrapped, and the idea was instead replaced by the Bomb Tower. Beta Minions. If it sounds familiar, that's because we have beta minions in Clash of Clans for the builder base. They are literally minions, but they're green, and they also have a special ability where their first few attacks have ridiculous range. Well, this was supposed to be a new card in 2020, but during development, well, I guess it's better if I just let them explain.
We had 2 cards in development. One was the Skeleton Dragon, a single troop that dropped bombs. The other was Beta Minions, which you might remember from the Clash of Clans builder base. We really liked the gameplay of the Beta Minions, but we liked the character of the Skeleton Dragon more. So we decided to combine these 2 ideas, and now you get 2 Skeleton Dragons instead of Beta Minions for 4 elixir.
I guess you can say this was 2 cards that we were supposed to get in 2020, but I just decided to consolidate it into the Beta Minions. The Hologram Tower. I feel like the community has been asking for something along the lines of this, like a fake building or a decoy, but it's probably never happening because it's already been tried once and it never went past that. The card basically cloned a tower and fooled the enemy into thinking it was a real one, thus the name Hologram Tower. According to a developer, when the troops got near it, the tower would simply disappear. As we mentioned though, it never went past the testing stages. The Ancient Minion. Okay, this card only attacked air cards and buildings. Right off the bat, it sounds ridiculous, but also, Interesting. Supercell ended up explaining that the ancient minion never made it because it basically replaced the Lava Hound. There was never a reason to use the Lava Hound over this. They had a really hard time finding that balance between both of the cards. So, because of that, it never happened. The Portal Spell. This spell would let you place a portal on one side of the arena and another portal would open up on the other side. Of course, that would lead to you transferring your troops that walked into it to the other side. Now, if it sounds familiar, the Mighty Miner does have similar mechanics, but not really. I mean, he's not opening a portal or anything, he's just moving over to the next lane. So that's completely different. Saying that the portal spell became the Mighty Miner seems like a stretch, considering they're nothing alike. But yeah, obviously this card never happened. Flower. Okay, this is the card with the very least information in this entire video. The name Flower and this picture is literally all the information we have about the card. And it's very hard to make out what it was supposed to be because it's just a goblin and a flower. Those flowers do tend to eat things though in real life, just bugs, but in games, they typically eat everything. A little bit unrealistic, but I mean, if you look at Clash Royale, it's not particularly realistic. So maybe, and this is just what I believe the card was, you deployed a goblin, he would take like 5 seconds to plant this flower like a deployment timer. And when it was done, the flower would deal damage to cards that got close to it, kind of like a building. Or maybe the flower would trap cards, do some damage, and release them a couple of seconds later. That probably sounds ridiculous, but it's the best I got, man. I don't know. Let me know down below what you think this card would have done. The Charger. A bowler-inspired card as it seems. Actually looked pretty cool. It had a long-range dash, but after it hit its target, the helmet would come off of it and would not dash after that. After that, I assume it would just attack. I mean, I don't know. It was probably a medium-sized tank as well, maybe similar stats to a Goblin Giant or a Knight, stuff like that. But other than the dashing and attacking, we really don't know much about the Charger. I'm willing to bet it was a cool one though. The Barbarian Launcher. Yes, it sounds like a silly idea, but the developers had a thing for launching stuff, I guess. The card was also tested as a cannon that shot barbarians, which is even crazier. They claimed the reason this never became a thing was simply because it didn't lead to many interesting situations.
We had it going for a while, but I think we just sort of paused on it because we found cooler cards that could actually work a lot better.
Yeah, they didn't lead to sort of many interesting situations, I guess.
Right.
Caravan. So according to Supercell, this card ended up inspiring the skeleton barrel, which makes absolutely no sense to me. In what world? They don't look alike. But there is a similarity, I guess. The Caravan held troops inside of it, much like the skeleton barrel. That's where the similarities stop. So I guess it makes a little bit of sense, but not much. Also, there was like this figure holding a sword. Maybe that was part of the original idea too, but I can't seem to make out what the figure was. This picture would later appear in the Art of Supercell book with the figure cropped out. Now I really want to know what the figure was, because why would you crop it out? Kinda ominous if you ask me. The Gift Spell. This card literally just gave you a random card, like it just straight up gave you a random card. Nothing else. Like opening a loot box in the middle of the game. You could get something really good or something really trash. It's pretty understandable why they never went through with this one. It doesn't make much sense. It sounds cool, but when you put it into the game and actually try, I mean, I bet it would have been a little weird or not useful. The Mega Pekka. This is actually a combination of 3 cards, but I didn't want to split them into 3 individual cards, so let's just talk about all of them at once. So there were 3 versions of it, like I said. The first one was an infinite damage Pekka that had low health. The second concept was a bigger Pekka that would spawn a mini Pekka at death. And the final concept was a huge Pekka that would ignore troops, just like a royal giant. Funny enough, the super mini Pekka that's currently in the game for season 37 sounds like the first version of the scrapped card. Except I don't think it has low health. Anyways, yeah, none of these were added because they were just way too OP. And in the case of the super mini Pekka that we currently have, that is just temporarily and it will disappear, never to be heard of again once the season finishes. So yeah, it's not really a new card, but they may have borrowed the idea from those older concepts. Dart Barrel. This is another one of those cards that inspired another one almost exactly how it originally was, but it's interesting because it also inspired another card. So 2 cards in total. The Dart Barrel was basically a flying machine dart goblin hybrid. A flying machine that shot darts. But keep in mind, this was before those 2 cards even existed. So it's really cool seeing where those 2 cards came from. What most likely happened is they didn't like the combination of a flying car shooting fast darts, so they replaced the shooting capabilities with a cannon and used the dart shooting capabilities for another card. And that makes perfect sense when you realize these 2 cards were released in the same year, 6 months apart. The Bear Trap. This card was never confirmed, but it was leaked once, and there was even an in-game animation for it for a few months in, I believe, 2017. But we don't have much information about it except that it was a bear trap. It would have been the first trap in Clash Royale. When the Art of Supercell book came out though, I spotted a bear trap that looked the same with the Hunter. In some early sketches, the Hunter had a rope, an anchor like the fisherman, and a bear trap. It could have been that the developers revisited the idea as an accessory for the Hunter, but again, there's no way of knowing what this bear trap was supposed to be exactly, or if there was a troop that was supposed to be used with it. All we know is that the bear trap was once in the game files as a trap, and then later on it appeared as a accessory with the Hunter. Chain Tesla. The Chain Tesla was exactly what it sounds like, a Tesla that was able to chain its attacks. Very similar to the Electro Dragon or the Electro Wizard, except the Chain Tesla was a concept before those 2 cards even existed. So the Chain Tesla ended up inspiring the mechanics behind a lot of the Electro cards we have today. Supercell has stated before that they really wanted to avoid adding more buildings, so they probably took the mechanics of the Chain Tesla and incorporated that with other cards and scrapped the building idea. The Butterfly Spell. This spell was supposed to distract troops by having small butterflies spawn in a specific area. It never actually made it to final stages due to visual issues, but it did in fact inspire the making of the Tornado spell. It's very interesting how that even inspired the Tornado, as they seem like completely different cards, but I guess it makes sense. The mechanics are similar, I guess. The Dark Mirror. This card was supposed to mirror the opponent's last play card. Now it sounds rather simple, but the reason it was scrapped was due to the developers having a hard time mirroring the right card.
So for example, I'm playing a princess and then immediately play Ice Spirit.
Yeah.
You know, which one is it gonna mirror first?
The mechanics behind it was just too complex. They did, however, say that they would revisit the idea, so maybe, just maybe, one day.
There is potential, we just gotta figure out a way, hypothetically, to make it work a little bit better. You know, we sort of are sitting on it.
The Trojan Horse. People also commented a lot about this card in the older videos, saying that the Trojan Horse has become the battle ram, the road delivery, goblin drill, and even the barbarian barrel? What? Anything that transports a troop inside of something else. Well, in the past, I just assumed it was the battle ram. I mean, obviously, it's the battle ram, right? Well, no. In the video uploaded by OJ, a developer is seen talking about the Trojan Horse and reveals that it inspired the Goblin Drill, which at the time was also a killed card. Now the reason I kept the Trojan Horse on this list is because we never got the Trojan Horse. We got a card inspired by it. The Goblin Drill looks and works nothing like a traditional Trojan Horse. So I think it's safe to say Supercell only borrowed the mechanics behind it and came up with a minor Trojan Horse hybrid. It would have been cool to see though. Elite Barbarian Hut. Now don't worry, if it's on this list, it ain't happening. Well, actually I said that last time and okay, never mind. I'm so sorry if this gets added. Anyways, Supercell just tried a lot of huts out of different cards in the game, and this was one of them. It would literally spawn elite barbarians. Now this never made it past testing stages, but it is interesting to know at one point the elite barbarian hut was even considered. The Ghost. Yes, we do have a ghost in the game, but just because they're called the exact same thing doesn't mean that we have the exact same card. Ghost is very generic. This old ghost concept actually ended up inspiring the bandit. How? Good question, because I had the exact same question. The ghost had this unique dashing effect, but they ended up scrapping the idea, but saved the dashing mechanic for another card, the bandit. After the bandit was released, the ghost remained a scrapped idea until later on when the card was revisited and reworked, and it became the ghost we know today. Bit of an interesting story there. The Ice Spirit Hut. Basically, the hut would spawn ice spirits. Think of a frozen furnace. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's pretty much what it was, and that's all the information we have about it. The dragon. When the game came out, this was one of the most discussed topics ever. People were wondering if we would get the infamous dragon from Clash of Clans. I mean, we already have most things from Clash of Clans and Clash Royale, so what about the dragon? Well, you've probably heard the story a million times, but the dragon was supposed to be in Clash Royale. But there was one problem. Visually, it was just too big. And when they shrunk it down, it just looked awkward, like a mini dragon. So instead of adding the dragon, they created a smaller version of it that looked better in the arena. The baby dragon. We could have had the actual dragon, but hey, the baby dragon does the job and feels right. The Wolf Rider. This card ended up inspiring two cards, the Ram Rider and the Giant Goblin. So earlier we talked about the Gunner, right? Well, Supercell liked the idea of the Gunner having two weapons, and they also love the idea of the Wolf Rider, an archer riding a wolf. So they ended up combining these two concepts to create the Giant Goblin. Two goblins that attack riding another goblin. I gotta give it to them, they come up with the most random but interesting stuff out there. Anyways, after the Goblin Giant came out, they scrapped the Wolf Rider idea, but later on, they revisited the idea and added the Ram Rider. So I guess you can technically say we already have the Wolf Rider, but not really. The original concepts were a little far from what we actually got. So guys, I think that should be it for these 25 cards that never got added to Clash Royale. It is very interesting to see these cards and what they would have been, and it's unfortunate that a lot of them didn't get added. I mean, some of them sort of got added, not really, but yeah, I would love to see more of these, and if I ever find 5 or 10 more, I'll update the list in like 5 years from now, I don't know. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a gaming out. Peace!